It is Tuesday, March the 26th, 2024. And I learned this evening that in addition to the raids on Sean Combs's, well, two of his homes, one in Miami and one in California, I believe, for sex trafficking allegations, that today Russell Simmons was served in Bali for a lawsuit filed by Kelly Dixon in February of this year for defamation of character. And her attorney, Kenya, did a good job in her filing, and I will share with you all 16 pages of the complaint so that you can see it yourself. And hopefully, Graham will accept the publicity and allow the full interview to play rather than have me blocked for copyright. But I will explain to you what my thoughts are about Russell and um, what my thoughts are about his guilt or innocence and how to look at these situations and so on and so forth. But I want to wait because I want you to form your own opinion. And if necessary, pause the video after the interview to think about that before you listen to what I have to say.
This morning, music mogul Russell Simmons stepping away from his businesses.
Russell Simmons, now the latest big name, left to defend himself.
9 women accuse Simmons of a wide range of misconduct, from vulgar language to assault to 4 instances of rape.
What did he do?
He raped me right up against the wall. Excuse my language. But that's what he did. I had to keep this secret.
He showed up, naked, wearing a condom, and tackled me to his bed while I screamed and fought and said no and cried. That's rape.
If the allegations are not true, why would all these women accuse you?
I heard someone else say this, that I was quite frivolous. Look, there's a song by Houdini, I'm a hoe, I'm a hoe. 3 different girls after every show. Culturally, we thought that was the right way. And a number of sexual partners and compromising positions I put myself in is beyond anybody's imagination.
You said you had more foursomes than most men have partners.
Yeah, and that wasn't really, I think it was cultural and silly and egotistic and sad and from an insecurity that feeds it, and there's a lot of reasons why we were that way. If you slept with as many people as I slept with, thousands, and we're talking about 6 people.
There were like 20, right? I mean, that range from
I spoke
assault
poorly. You mean
rape
that's not, no. Yeah. I spoke poorly to 15 of them. 12 of them. I spoke poorly all the time. I'm a Def Comedy Jam guy. I was crude. So how many compromising situations was I in? And if you call that person and say, can you help me help these other women, then you can get them to tell a story and reimagine a story. And I'm not here to say what they were thinking, but I can simply tell you that I was in so many compromising situations that people can have a recollection from 30 or 40 years ago. And it can be different from my recollection. And it could be one where there was perhaps collaboration. If you had more foursomes than most guys had onesomes, could someone leave and feel hurt? Could someone leave and feel they wish they hadn't? Could someone reimagine a story out of thousands of people? Could someone want notoriety in a market where people thirst for fame, even infamous? Could someone who just came out of jail and want to sue you because they had an experience and they can reimagine it just a little bit different? And could you be vulnerable enough to accept it? I took 9 lie detector tests. People don't know that. 9 separate. 7 from the chairman of the Polygraph Association. 1 for each of the serious accusations. 1 for when someone said, for instance, I was violent. One person said that. I've never been violent. Took that. And 1 for I apologized. I never apologized about assaulting anyone. But if 2 people say it, because one said it and me too, and the second person said it, then I took a test for it. 3 hours per test by 2 polygraph examiners. One that I've never done this to anyone and one I've never done to each individual. Some people say that they're not accurate, but if they're 94% accurate, I did 9 of them, it's pretty clear that I don't believe it. I even asked what if I believe it, but it's not true? He said, your subconscious will get you. I said, I don't know how true that is, but that's what was told to me by the chairman of the Polygraph Association. He was filmed, by the way, talking about this, so there's footage available. No one in the mainstream would cover that.
Why do you think that is?
There's a narrative.
Which is what?
That we don't want to go backwards. We want to believe women. But women and celebrities may be in some cases a little different. But we don't want to not believe women. We have to believe women. We have to give them the benefit of the doubt, but we can't demonize people without proof either. Twitter cannot make a decision. I've never spoken to a policeman. I've never spoken to a judge about anything. So who's the judge and the jury here? Maybe you haven't lived in the real world. It's gray. No one's intentionally hurt anybody. It's a big difference. No one pushed anybody in Being pushy is different from pushing someone. It's very gray.
Rape is a strong allegation, and some of these stories were that you pinned women down. I mean, like bad stuff, you know, either happened or it didn't, right?
Yeah, well, you know, it's a serious word, but I think they've changed the meaning.
How so?
Because I've never been violent to anybody. The rape is a violent crime. So it is a very serious. Somebody jumps out of bushes and rapes somebody, it's different, I think. So it's a different kind of recollection. I mean, so I don't think anybody's saying it was violent. Of course, I've been insensitive, but certainly I've never been forceful in any of my relationships. All of what I've had has been consensual.
What errors in judgment do you think you made, looking back?
My goodness. You know, we all need to learn to be better listeners, all of us. I think that the culture and the climate was different, and the way people interacted was different. And I think to judge 40 years ago as if it was today, we get in trouble. We have to accept where we were and move on and be somewhere else in the future if we don't like where we were. And I think that we're doing that now. And I think that's the good that comes from me too. And, you know, I think this next generation should be more sensitive, and we should have a new way forward. And this is helping us to form a new way forward. It's a great movement. It's done a lot of great work for women. It's sensitized men in ways that they were not sensitized. And for that, I'm grateful.
If you had a do-over with that period, what do you think you would do differently?
A lot, but I don't have a do-over. This is the thing about practicing, being here now, and accepting what you learned and move forward. We can't do over. I haven't spoken to anybody for 5 years. It's ruined my life. It's ruined my relationship with a lot of everything. All my 5 charities have gone down. I had a lot of work. I had a lot of people I was trying to help. I had a lot of things I was doing, and I've been locked out of it. I don't want this to be the trigger to turn everything around again.
At some point, somebody's going to ask you about this, so why not do it in a controlled environment where
Is it control? Are you going to Graham?
No.
All right,
So,
well, let's go.
Explain why November 23 is an important month for you.
Oh, well, you know, they've had a year, the accusers, to sue me, and I haven't been sued. But I kind of believe that a lot of stuff's been the media. First of all, 40-year-old stories are quite hard to prove, I guess, but in civil suits, maybe not. But they're 40-year-old stories, but they've been covered by the media. But I can't speculate as to why I haven't been sued, but, you know, we're talking about 6 serious accusations.
What did you think of the doc?
I didn't watch it.
Why not?
Because it's not true. And I think that Oprah said the stories don't add up.
Oprah also came out and said she believed the women.
I stand in support of these women. I believe them. It was a hard decision because I knew that Russell Simmons had started publicly pressuring me, and that me pulling out of the documentary was going to look like I was being pressured.
How do you square the two?
Well, she said she believed women, but if you want to call Oprah, I can give you her number. She made a movie about some women and then made it very public that she was making the movie and that she made the movie, and then she walked away. She has not come back in support. Isn't she a supporter of black women or not? You should call her. She will not defend those women. Those are black women that she said she supported. She will not defend them. She cried on the phone to multiple witnesses that she didn't even know, because she learned that hurt people, and that her stories, as an investigative journalist herself, she knows those stories should never have been printed, much less made a movie about.
What conversations did you and Oprah have during that process?
Well, the first thing I called her and I said, I'm glad it's you making the movie, because people rush to judgment, and you're a reporter. I said, well, have you spoken to anybody who was there at the time, or around that time. And then she called them. She studied them. She read their books. And then that's caused her to walk away from the movie.
What she had said, just to be clear, on like CBS this morning was that she felt more time was needed, and
to make a whole
the
documentary, not about me.
Wouldn't.
She said to change it. She said to change the whole thing. Is what she told me. She told him she wanted to change the entire thing to a documentary about men in general, about the whole music industry, and that I couldn't be a subject anymore because she had found too much contradictory evidence about the stories about me. That's what she told them. And that's what you could ask her that. Everybody she interviewed, she taped. She taped about 20 witnesses. Those tapes are available. If you're investigating this, maybe you should dig into those tapes. I don't want to go far into this discussion because it is a very sad moment. It was the most traumatizing experience in my entire life. It hurt my children. There are people with 40 accusations, you'd be interviewing them right now, and this subject wouldn't come up. So I feel a little bit targeted, but please continue.
And I was going to say, to be clear, this is not an investigation. You have not really talked about this before, and so I was merely trying to get your thoughts on
I don't
this,
want to sound defensive, but yes, I told my children I would not speak about this. You know, and it's been, because I left and I spent so much time here, people have assumed that I really left and ran, even though I'm back in America all the time. I'm behind the 8 ball. So I'm not expecting you to put yourself, make it look like you're wrong about anything or that you're in favor, but you have the tools. Please don't.
You have the tools to provide context, and context in any story is everything.
Everything.
Yep.
If we freed it up.
This
All right, the first thing I want to say is that Russell Simmons is quite the politician. I was actually getting like some Joe Biden vibes as I was watching him and wondered if he was coached for the interview by the same people who prepare people to give the pre-written speeches that they deliver during their press conferences and their addresses. But anyway, I want to first ask you if you feel that he is guilty of the crimes he has been accused of. And in order for you to accurately answer that question, you have to understand what the complaint that was filed by Kenya on behalf of Drew Dixon is accusing him of and seeking recompense for. And that is defamation of character. The reason I said that Kenya did a good job of filing the lawsuit is that she has followed some of the guidelines that I have provided people about filing civil suits. And that is, number one, you cannot be focused on a monetary compensation, because if you are, that means you can be bought, and there is a high likelihood that you will settle because they will structure your case in a way that it becomes a financial burden for you to continue to move forward. And if you're just trying to get money, then they'll make an offer they feel like is enough based on the information they can gather on your credit history and things like that, that you would accept. And therefore, the story is not told. The other thing that I have said is that it is important that you file your complaint for the people, not for the accused. That you want the people who are going to hear about the case to understand what you're concerned about and what you want exposed and to stop. And you then can draft the rest of the legal approach to that around that goal. And she did that. This complaint has nothing to do with the rape. The complaint is only focused on defamation of character, which means, slandering her name, saying negative things about her, so on and so forth, and whether or not those things contributed to her being ousted or blocked from engaging in her professional skills. And he has admitted himself in the interview with Graham that he did that he is a Def Comedy Jam person, he said. And, I said a lot of ruthless things about a lot of people. So in that regard, he is guilty, and without question, he is guilty. But as another human being, why would you do that? I hate all bullies indiscriminately. Why would you do that? And why would you think that that's okay? And, he is really very good at political debate and, and sort of putting out there the feel good, right answers. But the other thing about politicians when they're being interviewed live by an impartial journalist is that they're asked questions oftentimes based on the feel good answer they give that forces them to have to admit honestly what their thoughts and feelings are on what they're being investigated about. And he did that many times. There was some mild narcissistic rage that, I feel like he was suppressing, and he's probably become very skilled at doing that. But the reality is he is guilty of making negative comments about her that follow the guidelines for defamation of character. You cannot deny a defamation of character. You cannot file a defamation of character lawsuit if the accusations that were made or if the comments made are true. So, when he was talking about her, if anything that he shared in the New York Times article or in the interview about her is not true of their relationship, of their business arrangement, anything like that, then he's guilty. Now, when I'm dealing with kids, and even when I was working with them in therapy, and we all agreed that a rule or guideline we had set or a task that was given that wasn't completed requires discipline of some kind. But I would always ask the kids, including my own kids, you can ask them, what you think a fair punishment would be for this. What do you think would be fair that would help you to learn not to do this, and why not doing it is important? And then based on their answer, we would come up with something. The interesting thing about kids in those situations is that they almost always came up with punishment that was far more extreme than I would have even come up with on my own, which says a lot about our society and what kids think about discipline. But they were always relieved to hear me say, okay, we don't have to go that far, but this is what, needed to be corrected. Now you explain to me what it is that you need to correct so that doesn't happen again. And then if they were able to repeat it accurately, that they understood what they did wrong and what they needed to learn, then with the parents, we would come up with an appropriate consequence. So I want you to consider that, because Kenya did request a jury trial, and the reality is he is guilty. And what would be a fair punishment? What is it that he needs to learn? And can he be saved? Does he want to be saved? I guess we'll know once they go to court.